I have an old saying, work hard better. Nothing's easy, right? I think people don't want to hear all the success, they want to hear the struggles.
Welcome back to the Full Out Real Estate Agent. I'm your host, Mark Faris. Today we are interviewing Kevin LaRose. He is the broker and founder of the LaRose Real Estate Group. So he has a team of 16 and serves the Mississauga GTA area. His average sale price is around 1.5 million, and he does between 125 to 150 million in sales each and every year. Now, what's really cool about Kevin is he's not only a team leader, but he's actually coaching now with a solid company that we're going to be diving into as well. So, Kevin, welcome to the show.
I'm excited. Nice to be with you, Mark.
So, Kevin, I've seen your success through the years. If you're in the GTA, you probably have heard of your name. Let's go back to the origin story and share a little bit about what got you into real estate.
Well, I started in real estate at an older age, in my early 40s. And I had many friends that were in the business. And I had a business I was coming out of that was going bad. We could certainly talk about the struggles there. But I was encouraged by hanging around agents that in their 80s were selling over 100 houses a year in the beaches in the downtown Toronto area. And they just mentored me and encouraged me to get my license and get in the business. So, you always look back and go, why didn't I do that earlier? But we have to be broke and almost on the street to realize that we got to do something different. And God knows we want to get into real estate. It's an easy business. So that's what started it. And I am so fortunate that I decided to do that. Yeah.
So, Kevin, when you started, I know we're talking like 25 years ago. So we're talking, you're a real veteran in the business and a lot of experience there as well, selling thousands of properties. But if you recall going back to the very beginning, what did you do to get business? I think that's like a big question mark for agents out there. I mean, maybe even for, team members that are coming on your team right now, maybe you can spin that into what they're doing to actually get business as well. But curious to know what you did to have such maybe a strong start to be able to build your team to where it is.
It's always a great question. And if I can share that with you. And agents that are first starting in the business, whether a year old or 2 years old. I remember when I started, a dear friend of mine, knowing that I needed to make money. It was like the thing I needed to do. I got the license, took me a couple of times to pass the test, did all that stuff. Finally, I'm out on the market, and I was struggling a little bit. And he told me, he says, just go to work. Just go to work. Control what you can and what you can't. Expect a lot from yourself and trust that good things will happen. Focus on what you can control. And I just went to work. And I was blessed. Marlene, my wife, who works with me now, a big part of our business. We had a young family at the time, 25 years ago. And so she goes, and she had a really great career in retail at a high fashion retailer. She was in a VP level there. We had a family, decided to stay at home and care for that family because she was traveling abroad lots. She goes, I'll take care of the admin side. I'll help you. I'll organize you because God knows I needed that. And you go out and see what you can do, make some money for us. And that's what happened. I remember one open house, first month in the business, I did 5 transactions in the open house. And I thought, I can make some money doing this. And then it was, I think 4 or 5 months later, I still hadn't sold a house. So I realized that there's a lot of things I need to do right to make it a career, not a job. And so, but I guess going back to your question, I just really surrounded myself with good people, felt I can get it done, and just kept on trying to get better in the communication, the conversion side of the business. Yeah. And just to add to that, when we talk about habits and so on, how I developed my business in the first 2 years is from Monday to Thursday, from 9 a.m. till noon, I called just listed, just sold. And then at night after dinner at 7 p.m. till 9, I did follow up, follow through, follow back. Yeah. So left messages, made calls. This is where landlines were being picked up, not cell phones. And I did that for like 3 years. And Friday I would take off, Saturday and Sunday do open houses. I was told get a sign on the lawn and call the neighborhood and farm the area. And I think the successful agents today, whether they're individual or not, if you farm an area and you have a significant brand, what you want to do is get the phone to ring. So that was always my goal. But I went to work, spoke to a lot of people, and got better on the conversion side of the business.
Hmm. Kevin, there's such a consistent theme that you see in top producers is like they just took massive action. And so going back, just to clarify, just listed, just sold. So would you call down the street of a just listed property? Is that like a direct cold call approach? Yeah.
Yeah, when you first start off for the young realtors, and I say that to my team members as well, is that when we lead gen, we're lead genning for what? We're lead genning for building relationships. Usually we're talking about their particular home, and you have the scripts that associated with that. So the challenge I had at the beginning was I was trying to get listings, but didn't have any significance in the marketplace. It's like, who's Mark or who's Kevin calling me? And of course, we can talk about the reputation we have as realtors out in the industry or at the consumer level. So when I realized when I was talking to them, they didn't think it wasn't my listing or it was my listing, but I was just talking about a listing in the neighborhood and not how that would affect the values of their home. Write down my own scripts, cross them out, hang up because I did poorly. We just got better at it. But just listed, just sold, I found that was for me. I was never an expiry guy, a FSBO guy. I wanted to be able to add value to the conversation. And I thought I would do that by adding some expertise in the number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, what else sold in your neighborhood. So I got prepared before making the calls so I could talk to the community properly when I got them on the phone so they feel there's expertise on the other end of the line. So there's a lot to say when you're doing lead gen that you're prepared first before you just pick up the telephone. Yeah.
Yeah. You and I had the very similar start. So open houses, it was like 4 every weekend and, back to back, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. And then it was during the week, it was cold calling and it was just listed for me. And, I would call down the street and I would say, hey, we have a listing because I didn't have any listings at that point. And so I'd call down the street and the company listing would pop up and I would call down and say, hey, listen, it's Mark Faris, Roll the Page. Our company, we just listed a property down the street. And I was curious if you knew of any buyers that are looking to move into the area, maybe a friend or a family member. It'd be nice to be able to pick your own neighbors now, wouldn't it? And they would be like, oh yeah, that's great. Yo, that's good. You're working really hard for your client. And then they say no most times. And it's like,
well, that's a whole conversation. I think part of the failures or success is with us as realtors is the fear of no. Yeah. When we take a look at our business, when I first started 25 years ago, it's completely different than it is now, right? I think in some ways it is more convoluted and there's a lot more noise in that lead gen space than there was when I started 25 years ago. I don't know how long you've been, but I don't think you've been there 25 years ago. But a lot of the things that you were talking about when you first started are very similar. And when we go full circle for the benefit of everyone listening, those things are really good. If we hide behind the traditional things that really make us successful, this is a contact sport. So we need to communicate with people, and there lies the challenge. Just because I'm thinking about it, and this is just an organic conversation, in my sales meeting yesterday with my staff and my team, I said, Mark and I are going to spend some time on the podcast. And I think it's skewed to agents that are, developing their careers. So, and I have team members that have been with me for 13 years. Some of my staff here, 13 and 14 years. Some of the team members, 10, 12, 9 years. I am absolutely blessed. And then I have my son who just joined me. And a few other newbies, if you would, that have recently had some success and are a young year in the business. Yeah. And so I said, from everyone's perspective, what would be the one thing you would like to hear on the podcast? And what do you think your advice, if you were asked for it, for agents getting into the business? And everyone unanimously said the skill set to convert. Because we can get all leads. We as a team running value, we buy leads, we have CRMs. And but if you can't convert, if you're going to someone's home and you can't build trust, all of those are skills. And so that was at the top of the list. So hopefully that's a message that's well served out there.
Well, we'll dive into that a little bit. I totally agree, and I think what precedes that, though, I totally 100% agree about the noise. And by the way, that your team members are with you for that long says a lot about your leadership as well. But the noise out there today, I think that distractions are like the kryptonite of real estate agents today more than ever. Social media, you got DMs coming, you got text, you got email, everything is like so accessible. And so the ability to just go back to the old school traditional lead generating models, it works if you just do. If you took that same approach, I really think that the results would be the same. I mean, there's more competition out there. Average sale price is drastically higher than when it was 17 years ago for me when I started. And so but there's way more noise out there now. And so if you can just stay down and actually have more conversations and do some of the things that we talked about to get in front of people, I think that in itself is like that first half of it. The conversion of it, we'll get into that as a next, but what advice would you have for people to eliminate the distractions as much as possible and to do the things that actually get them in front of people?
Well, Mark, it's a real struggle. I think that young professionals in our business, and again, if I go back to when I started, typically people that were getting licensed, they were second and third careers. And what we're seeing now is we're getting young professionals coming into the business. I got a couple of 20-year-olds that started with me. They're looking at it as careers. They've had some stuff going on, but they decided, hey, I'm going to do this. And it's fueled by what's their big why, what's their mission, all that. Some of them are not in touch with that language, not in touch with that. They don't live it, they might say it. I think that will come with age and living more. So, but I think that today there's a real opportunity for the younger professional. I know for a fact that building my business and the people that I know around us, and I would probably think yourself as well, is that we built the business in a brand way. We're recognizable, the phone rings, it provides a certain balance out there that people go, I like what I see, let me call and find out more. And there's different ways of doing that. Today, I think with social media, if someone was to leverage an individual agent to leverage someone, to pay someone to do their social media instead of them doing it themselves, I think it goes back to we do one thing really well, everything else we scatter, and you can't multitask. So if you are out there to generate a really good business and you want an assistant and you want to do it on your own, you don't want to build a team, you don't want to be on a team, and you feel you got what it takes, this business could suck the life out of you. And it does take all the time away. So you need some leverage. So pay for those things because you're going to pay for it in a different way. If you don't, you'll lose opportunities, right? So invest some leverage into that. If it's your social media is your thing and you do it really well, and you could expect a likeliness where people will go, let's follow this person. That's one way of doing it. But at the end of the day, you still have to speak to somebody. Right? So don't hide behind those tools. Use them as part of your toolbox and then spend some time on realize what you really do well. You don't have to be passionate about it, but you could get so good at it that you can monetize it. So you're not going to be knocking on doors. It's scary out there, but if you're going to knock on doors, what value are you providing that neighborhood and how prepared you are? It's not your passion, but I'm good at it. And it allows me to help families make a difference in their careers and in their lives. And that's, I think, a really strong. So give it time, look at it. Even if you're a single individual, you don't always have to work in the business. Work on it. Work on the business, and then surround yourself with like-minded people that are at a higher level because we all want to help you. That's why we do this podcast, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where like joining, say, like a team like yours, where you're around other high producers, that just pulls your ability to execute up at a higher level. And you're at that, rather than you being, say, on your own, trying to do it all on your own. That's where what we found on our team is the team members that keep showing up every week in the meetings and they're participating, they're seeing what other top agents are doing. It pulls them up, and everybody's level stays at that high level versus kind of being on this massive roller coaster up.
Well, again, and again, by saying those, it tweaks some thoughts of mine, and maybe you could help me with this and what you see, especially through your successes as well. There's what we call the doom loop. You know what that is? So the doom loop is where most of the agents sit into, and what it is chasing, selling, and closing, and it's brought by a fear of missing out. So an example would be is you're out there and you get a call, you got a schedule, you get your time blocks, whatever. Someone calls, wants to see a house, you drop everything, you chase it, you go show the house, not that qualified. Or you're going into a consult, or you're going into a listing presentation, but you're going there to do them a favor, provide information, but they've already chosen somebody else. And so it's this vicious circle of running and chasing the business. And I think we have to do that to appreciate what our options are. And I stopped doing that a long time ago, but it was a really big aha for me. I got sick, got cancer, got out of the business, got back into business. And when you're removing yourself from it, it adds, for me, it added a lot of humility and a perspective I didn't have before. So we, as realtors and professionals, we had a great service to the people out in our communities, huge service. And if we take it on like that, I think it's not how much business you do, it's how you do business. And I think that's a really important aha when you go after the business. And that's what I try to encourage and coach my team members to do. That why not them, right? Live their best life inside the brand by doing those things. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. And I'm going to dive into that in a minute in regards to, the challenge that, you had to overcome and then come back to it. But I want to wrap this up. This, we'll say, the lead generating side of it, and that this loop that you had said that is very prevalent out there. It's like, I'm going to drop everything and I'm going to go. And then it's like, oh, I got this new idea from Bob said that this lead generating thing is good. And oh, this was like, oh, and then you see somebody else starting to get business on another marketing channel. So it's like, I got to try that now. And it's like this constant surface, chase the rabbit, multiple rabbits at a
Yeah.
time.
Oh, God, we see that all the time.
Right. And so this is where, when it comes down to it, it's like, and I really like what you said about picking. You don't need to be good at all of them, but like picking like a few of them would be really good. So it's like, pick your three and do that and do it enough where you get good at it. And what I found, Kevin, with that is to build on that point there that you had said, was that the better I got at it, the more fun I had at it as well. And it became like one of these things that's like, oh, I'm starting to get really good. I like doing it more. Just like for me, when I was young, I took thousands of shots, hockey shots out in the barn, forehand, backhand, snapshot, slap shot, 100. And now I pick up a stick, and it's like, I love shooting still. Because of all that. But when you first start, it wasn't that same passion. It's only the better you get at something, do you love it more? Is that been your
You know,
experience?
I think I remember I was drafted to Windsor Spitfires. I have a little background like yourself. Played through the Quebec Leagues, born and raised in Montreal, and I was an average skater compared to the rest. But my dad was a tough guy, and always taught me that you have to fight for what you want. So I got bruised up and beat up, but I got my lickings in, and there's a lasting quality to being in a team environment. We as adults now, having families, we know what that's like. That we don't realize that it was really paying us forward in our lives by having that experience. Yeah, yeah.
Good. All right, let's talk about the lead conversion side. So now we're in front of, so maybe they picked their three top, whether it's They do open houses. You got cold calling. Just make sure the no call list, you navigate that properly. You do say door knocking, or you do social media, you do DMs, you do networking, like whatever it is, you pick your three and you go deep. So now they're in front of people. What advice would you have for the listeners out there on how to convert and get them to move along with you in the next step of the process of buying or?
Okay. So when we get through this, I'll provide a couple of books that I would recommend. So, what are we in the business for? Why are we in the business? What is our unique abilities? What do we offer that's different than all the other agents that they know, hear about, or think they know and hear about? Yeah. What makes us different? That would be number one. And I think generally speaking, as I say to my team members when we do our goal planning and so on, what's your unique ability? Most people struggle with that at the beginning. Like, what's unique about me? Oh, I like families, and I care for them, and I want the best for them, and so on. So, what's your unique ability? A lot of people get into business because they like houses and want to help people. So when they ask me that, I go, the unique ability I have is I can inspire someone to say yes in a very short period of time. So that's a skill. So, my recommendation and where our success has come from is not competing with the other agents on the value proposition we offer to convert the opportunity. What we do is we go in there to build trust. People buy with good feelings. They buy with the heart. It's intuitive. So there's a thing called the trust triangle, which I train my team on. And part of the triangle is called authenticity, empathy, and good judgment. That what peels the triangle itself. So when you think through those, so how do you build trust? Well, you build trust through labeling and mirroring and empathy. So empathy is not about, oh, I feel so bad and feel sorry for you, and I understand your parents have passed away, and oh my goodness. Empathy is for people, strategic empathy is for people to get across that they're being heard. They want to feel they're being heard, that you get them, that they feel safe in your space, that you're different from the rest because you care, you have a great plan, and so on. We have a saying here in the LaRose team is that how we do anything is how we do everything. So good enough is not good enough. So what that speaks to is overachieving on the results, the experience that families have with us. It's a platform in which we work from, our core values. So agents out there, understand why you're in the business, what your core values are, and share those with the potential buyers and sellers. It's what separates us from the clutter. So get really good that they will be cared for, and they'll have experience at a level where people would want to raise the flags to the families and friends they know. What a great experience you have. So for me, the conversion side is, and I'll give you an example. They go into someone's home. We do deliver flowers before we arrive. So when we walk into someone's home, the flowers are meant to say thank you. It's a privilege to be in your home. It's everything we do in our business and day to day and our conversations is to get into families' kitchens to be able to make a difference for them. So I want to say thank you for the opportunity. And I'm here to build trust and to help make a difference. So let's go. So that's really where we sit. And then we consult, strategize, and then we talk about how we will be different than the rest that you're interviewing if that's the case. So build trust is the messaging out there, and it's a skill to do it.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Really powerful. And I think that, a lot of agents would go into a home and it's like instant, here's what we do, versus like the questioning in that trust building phase at the beginning. And you've heard it before, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. That idea. And I'm totally a big believer on that. And so taking the time and like the rule of reciprocity, giving the flowers, for example, that that's like a good, amazing first step. Like, how do you get mad or upset with somebody that walks in that, that has sends flowers, right? And so,
Well, you know what? First of all, I think that when we're talking to the people listening to this, and flowers might not be what you that would work for you. When we did our branding and rebranding, we hired a company to do that. My last name is LaRose, and our corporate colors are yellow. So they're yellow flowers, and it has a card that talks about friendship because yellow flower represents something. So anything that we do to rise above the clutter, and that we give back to the people that we're going to service. So it takes some thought to do that. That doesn't mean you've got to grow a team, but I think that if you're an individual out there, then you should have a relationship with your brand. Whatever that brand is, have a relationship with you. It's the goodwill, and it separates you from the clutter.
Yeah, 100%. For us, Kevin, we do mugs, coffee mugs, full out, branded mugs, right? And so that's one of the things that whenever we do any sort of marketing, we're like full out. That's our tagline. That's our differentiating factor, and that goes back to the hockey of that. Mark, you're always going full out. Joanna, my wife, came up with that. She's the marketing brains behind the operation when we started, and so I total in agreement with that, and create consistency and alignment. That's why what you had said about the flowers is so true. That may not work for everybody, but pick what aligns with what your key differentiator is, and tie that together from start to finish, and that's what you can create a sticky brand.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just to wrap this part of it up, I think what's really important for when I look at it, not everyone wants to run a team, all that stuff. And when you're a single agent, all you're doing is working in the business. You're not working on it. I think decide on what your business looks like and do everything you can to buy the leverage or invest in and find the talent to do so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, powerful. All right. So, Kevin, I want to go back to, you went through a major life change. And so, what context or perspective change can you share with the listeners of going through your health challenge that you had, and coming back, and how have things changed, maybe in regards to what's important in your life, and how do you address your businesses? Did anything change fundamentally in how you operate?
Yeah, well, I was diagnosed in 2009 with throat cancer. And so anyone that's listening to this or whatever, it's a nasty cancer because the treatment's really hard. So you can't eat after a while, lose a lot of weight, and it's a very, very difficult time. So and it was a viral type cancer, but it didn't spread. So I knew I was going to be okay. So what were the ahas through the process? Well, God bless. I realized that if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't give yourself every chance to live a healthy physical life, then it falls on others. And then now your family has to take care of you, life changes, fear sets in. It's nasty. And then what happens is that coming from the side of sickness, you're going, oh, well, how can I get better? So it was an enlightening experience. I will tell you in a funny way, Mark, that I'm a much better person now than once I got cancer. So, yeah, I think it's the humility that I experienced through the process, because this is, this is an ego-driven business, and so I found that when I get the ego out of the way, I'm a better person. People around me want to hang around with me more, so humility, I guess, is the big part of that. The other part is that I had a team. Geez, I don't know how many were there. We might have had 8 or 9. I just bought the building that I'm in now. I was with Remax at the time, thinking of starting our own. This is before PREC and we could incorporate, and we're looking at, we were successful, and we've gone like, how can we build wealth? What does it look like? Different levels of thinking, especially after getting sick and coming back out on the road. I was 89 or 90 pounds. I went down 157 pounds. So, and when you lose that much weight so quickly, you atrophy. So, it's funny because in 1982, I was Mr. Montreal. I finished hockey and I did this bodybuilding thing. And I got a funny story about that, but that's another thing. So I always stay fit. So the aha there is humility, and watch my diet, change my diet, do those types of things. And then I looked around with the people that were around me, and some of them are still with me. And then Marlene took on a whole different level of the business, and we did well. I think the year I was off, almost we did our best GCI, which is weird. And that back then it was like 1,700,000, something like that, 2009. So, and then when I went back out and started to go to agents open houses, when there was agents open houses prior to COVID, when they used to be around, I had so much empathy and caring from our peers because I was so skinny. They hadn't seen me for a year, right? Yeah, I felt really warm around that. So you don't know what you don't know. But it was certainly life changing. And then I watch how I share that story, Mark, because I don't want it to be used as anything else other than an experience I had and not because of anything else, because sometimes it could be perceived as such. But yeah, so yeah, and my relationship with my wife is awesome. I mean, she's such a caring person. God knows where we'd be without our spouses. We'll celebrate 40 years this June together. So really lucky that she's part of my life and our business for sure. And it's hard to work with your wife closely in the business, but we found really good ways of doing that. Thanks for asking about that.
Well, and for me, like with Marlene, is your wife as a like a strong leader working alongside. That was something that I experienced that as well with Joanna when we started the business, the two of us. So I could appreciate having that support through all of that as well, and from the get go as well. And so it's a powerful combo when you have a couple working together. One thing that you said, Kevin, that really stuck out for me that I hope the listeners really got is that if you don't look after your health, your your family will need. You're putting it on your family to look after your health if you get sick. And so that for me, it's like I didn't really see it from that way, and because that's true. If you get sick, it's like your family will need to step up and look after you. And if you are healthier or we'll say the oxygen mask on first, when you go on an airplane, say put your own oxygen on first. If you don't prioritize your health, then you're kicking the can down the road for your family to essentially do it. And so that for me is like that's like a really good motivator. It's like
Well, you know what? I will say that when you dive deep into being cared by others, your oncologist, your nutritionalist, the people that you're supporting at Princess Margaret. I did a huge fundraiser for Princess Margaret afterwards and raise money for them and I haven't done it since, but it was a real need for me to do that and give back to them. They say if you want to start leading, start organizing things. Start organizing it for others. Start putting a boys thing together. Start doing something where you lead into that space because most people follow. And so these are all little qualities of a leader and life's experiences for sure. Listen, I'll be 69 in a couple of months, and I think that just through my habits over the years and staying fit, and I take a look at some of my friends and family, or even some of the people I come into through our business, and their ages, and they have problems climbing stairs, or I think that years of staying fit will help as we get older for sure. And I have no plans on retiring, whether we can or we can't. It's like the juice is making difference for people every day. So what a great business to be in, as long as you stay healthy.
Kevin, just quickly, because I think this is a really important point, is health. Because we're very in the business is very like, okay, give leads, revenue, but in regards to health, if you do that, that will drive more long sustainable, high productivity, which is an investment in the business. What would you say would be just a couple quick tips, health tips that have really helped you stay healthy at this point?
I think what's really important is that you stick with routines, bedtime up. So those routines are extremely important. I will tell you though, is there's some indications of something that you should look into. If you're not getting good sleep, then you want to say, well, why is that? What's going on there? If you're in any kind of discomfort or pain, there's inflammation. What's going on with that? So if we can get ahead of, as we get older, make sure that you have eyes on your body, your health. That way you're complete around that. As far as diet is concerned, we stopped eating red meat a long time ago. And that had to do with, of course, my Marlene saying, I don't want to do that, I want to do this. So we are very clean on our food. I think that's really important. We like our wine, but we do that on the weekend, not during the week. So we watch the alcohol intake, although I got a cottage. And sometimes I go into Barrie and I see that beautiful Mark Faris face up on that building. I'm going, come on, I mean, stop it already. So we go through there because we're up in Gravenhurst. So when we're up at the cottage, we might splurge a little bit because that's the joy of life. But for us, it's about routines, good sleep, exercise regularly, good food, watch your alcohol, no bad habits that are going to come and hit you in the back of the head down the road. We got to enjoy our life, so everything in moderation. But I think diet is really, really a big thing. And even if it's just walks, people struggle with their weight. And if you have a hard time with that, have some accountability, because people say they want accountability, but most people run away from it. So I think the ones that are really successful with their health, their balance in their lives, if there's such a thing, their business, there's really big accountability through the process. So the accountability for me is I love to cook. It's a hobby. And Marlene does too. So we are responsible for the food that comes into the house. And I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, right on. Well, thanks for sharing that, Kevin. So let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about the coaching side of the business and what you are able to see out there. So you've partnered with Ken Goodfellow. He has just a solid name. I know Ken really well, and so the coaching side. So you're the team leader, and then you're coaching top agents as well. What can you share with the listeners as to maybe some of the key reasons why they should actually hire a coach?
Well, 100% of the time, first of all, call out to Ken. Ken coached me when I was younger in the business, and I really respect Ken and Shirley. The primary coaching is about getting their business to another level. So they want to get their business where, and 100% of the time, and I did a mastermind, and I can share this with you, there is what they want is they want to have more time for themselves. They want to have more time for their lives to enjoy. They want to be somewhere in the world and not necessarily be trying to do a deal or return a signed call or whatever else that goes on in their given day. Yeah. So the biggest struggle that most of them have is that they're all working in the business. So they want to scale it, if you would, but they're running after the business still. They're paying the bills. And a lot of them have the GCI that comes in, they don't reinvest back into the business. It's a lifestyle thing for them. So they're doing $1 million in GCI, $1.4 million. They got 4 or 5 agents. They're selling as well. And they're not nurturing as much, building leaders and spending a lot of time in that space, but they're running over. And so they're putting out fires on a regular basis, and they're having a hard time scaling the business. So they come on into the coaching to help give them some insights, network with, make them accountable around the models and systems associated with it, the automation that goes along with that, and so on. So I talk to them about branding, training the people, leadership, and then pay close attention to how the business comes in and how it doesn't, and what you need to do to disrupt the marketplace, because look at what we're dealing with right now, and what could have expected this come January. So there's a lot of things going on. So a lot of that is happening right now. Like I thought this was going to happen. Now there's lots of uncertainty, and I'm struggling here. So let's talk about it. So it's mentoring as well as coaching and accountability, which goes to a single agent as well as to someone trying to run and leverage a team.
Kevin, you're a top producer, so you're playing the game and you're coaching top producers, which actually, if you're selecting a mentor, that I think is really important for context of, when you're getting coached. I think that context on both sides of it's really important. But what would you say would be the difference in mindset between top producing agents and say the average agent?
Well, it's just higher thinking. I think the
What
mindset.
does that mean by higher thing? I think for the listeners,
Well,
like what do you mean by that?
okay, so I remember personally when I first started that my friends in the business that were doing very well felt that I would be able to do the same. And so I didn't want to let them down in a funny way. And that fueled a little bit of an ego associated with that. Like, I know I can do this and I want to brag while I'm doing it. It's kind of like that. So the message there is that I was surrounded with people that were way, way ahead of me in the real estate career, way ahead. And I hung around them and they encouraged me and they put up with my stuff. Yeah. And I think that for the one getting into it, uh, my coaching or suggestion or whatever would be that I think they should start on a team because they will learn a lot right then and there. It'll get them in a moving vehicle very quickly, and they'll be with higher thinking people that will break through their confidence level, that will get them more secure in that space. And when they get to the point where they go, I can do this, I can really do this, and then start getting better in that space that they really do well at, I think that's a big thing. So, because we're always left to our own devices, right? We get up in the morning with ourselves. So, what are we thinking about right away? So, the ones that have a relationship with that mindset and their big why, and for me, I want to make a difference for people through leadership and contribution. When I wake up in the morning, I go, what is my family thinking downstairs? How can I make a difference when I arrive? Right? So, it's a thing that I think about all the time, but I can't let anyone down. It's not part of me. So your mindset should be, who am I not hanging with? And I think you play small when you don't reach out to leaders in our industry to say, can we have a coffee? I'm starting in the business. And I just want to be successful and I admire what you're doing. You and me would go, sure, I can't do it, but let's do Zoom. Would we not? Of course we would. But people play small because they don't feel they deserve it. So everyone out there listening, that you deserve it. If you got your license, I totally admire where you're going. So don't play small. Get around people that allows you to think bigger.
That's really good advice. Really good advice. And Kevin, you and I, we started, I mean, all top producers started as an individual agent, started from the bottom. Like, like you could say, well,
And how many of them needed the money?
yeah, yeah. I think that's where that context I think is really important, is that everybody puts their pants on the same way. And I think that I think then brings it within reach. It's like, it is possible to be successful in real estate. The key thing is to keep things simple and just take massive action.
So I have a point. This might be a good point to share this. Every one of my team members, Mark, went through my ISA program. Everyone went through my inside sales program. And many years ago, I went down to Austin and in a mastermind thing that was going on there. And someone on stage named Tim Kyle, Kyle, and he was only in his early 20s, and he was doing at that time, I think he was doing like 350 million in volume. He was a young guy, and the number's so much different in the U.S. But he started an ISA department, and so I went, ISA department. So what I took from there and brought home was all the notes, and I went, of course. So I created an ISA department. I had 6 ISAs. Some of them were licensed, some of them weren't licensed. Did that for 2 years, and it was really hard. Like, it was hard making them accountable. I was doing a lot of the training with them and the scripting, which I got really good at. And I didn't have a lead gen coordinator at the time. Did it for a couple of years, and then 2 of those ISAs wanted to join the team, and they're still with me to this day. So the light bulb went off and said, well, why don't I take the ISA program and do it as a training program for new agents coming on as I build out my team? And so the aha there is that anyone that comes onto this team goes through the 100-day ISA program: lead gen, call database, scripting, conversion. And everyone should go through some type of training like that because it makes them so uncomfortable, right?
Well,
And they start.
and the license office is not putting them through to get their real estate license. They're definitely not going through a program like that. Right. Not even anywhere close. They teach you
No.
more so how to not
So
get sued. So
right.
that's great.
Yeah. So, there's a lot to say with the traditional stuff we've been talking about, right? How to communicate with people and convert.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Kevin, changing gears a little bit. So let's say overall investing advice for a real estate agent, they're making money. Okay. They're investing into their business and they have some extra funds there to invest. Uh, there's millions of different things out there that they could. What advice? I mean, you're further down the road from a seasonality. You would have seen a lot. You would have seen kind of the ups and downs in regards to investing. What advice would you have for agents out there that are looking to invest their own
Well,
funds?
a couple of things. Um, in our business, it starts with we can never save to wealth. We can make a lot of money and never really save to being wealthy. So you have to diverse and you have to get your money working. So the aha there is have a relationship with wealth building, especially these young agents coming in. What a great opportunity they have! Oh my God! So actually block time, have a relationship with it, and say what's the best way to navigate and who's around me that can help me with it. I'm a big believer, and I was taught to invest in what you know. So I own real estate. I own the building we're in. I become the landlord for the broker, and I own other parts of real estate as well. And I think that for me, I said, okay, I want to enjoy the real estate I own, but I also want to be able to build wealth one day from an asset base because the business drives a lovely lifestyle for me and more. So why not do that? So be smart around the way you leverage your money and borrow money to leverage your wealth. Don't think you can't do it. So be in bed with some people that has got your back and is smart, and invest in what you know. So, but the doing part feels really good because once you do it, you go, I did this. This is good, you know. And I was told a long time ago, when you buy a piece of real estate, don't sell it, keep it. Right, 10 years, and then look at how you could reinvest it from there. So, yeah, and I think unfortunately in our business we see a lot of money being made and squandered and not reinvested, and it's a looking good thing. They drive nice cars and so on, but they own the government. So if you start off right, there's lots of avenues. Invest in what you know well, but invest.
Yeah, great advice. Kevin, this is such a wealth of information here. I got 3 rapid fire questions and then we're going to wrap up. But I mean, Kevin, we could keep talking for hours. Like we just, so this is really great. But so first
Yeah,
question.
thank you, buddy. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. I love to share. It's so good.
Yeah. 100%. Again, I had a bunch of questions here and I was like, I only scratched a couple of them, but
Yeah.
been really great so far. So first question I have for you. What is your favorite book? I'm a big reader, love reading. I'm curious, what's your favorite book that's made the biggest impact for you?
Well, I got books all around me, and but Think and Grow Rich. I remember when I first read that. I think it wraps up in so many areas, right? When someone asks me that, that's the first book that I think of that helped me really make a difference when I read it because there's so much stuff that you get. There's 2 other books that I would recommend. One is called The Full Fee Agent. So, all the listeners out there, this would be a book that I train my team members from, Full Fee Agent. And then the other one is a book called No, starts with No by Jim Camp. So those 3 books I think are really important, especially in our industries about negotiating, communication, those types of things. Yep.
Amazing. Very cool. Definitely you want to make sure to pick those up for
Yep.
sure. So next question, 3 words that best describe you, that people around you that know you best, how would they best describe you in 3 words?
I don't know. I mean, I think uh, they would empathetic, um, leader, and and skilled.
Yeah. Yeah, right on.
That's my words, but I think it would be
Yeah,
close.
I'd add generous in on that. That's my take. Is that
Yeah.
there's a generosity there that that you have. All right, and final question for you here before we wrap up, and we're going to make sure to get your information so that the listeners can reach out. But what final advice would you give a real estate agent that is just starting, or maybe they've been in the business a number of years and they want to take their business to the next level?
Yeah, I think they first and foremost they got to really want it to do that. I have an old saying: "Work hard, better." And nothing's easy, right? And I think human beings naturally want it real quick. I think people don't want to hear all the success; they want to hear the struggles. And yeah, I think it's upon every licensed agent to respect our industry because we're a fleeting, watered down commodity. And I think it's really important that we are fiduciaries, not functionary. And I think it's extremely important that they take that on and they surround themselves with good people because this business can be a really great choice to be made and to build wealth and have the flexibility in your life to come and go as you wish. Yeah. So wish them all the success in the world. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. The industry has so much upside, yet it's not for the faint of heart. So be ready to put the time in. But the cool thing is, whatever you put in, you can get out. And Kevin, I'm of the same mind as well. That the industry's given me so much, and I just love it. And that's a big part of doing
You
this.
know what? Just before we finish this off, Mark, we first reached out to one another when I had a mastermind group together with Barry Cohen and Dan Cooper and a bunch of other guys that we all respect that have done really well in this business. I remember sitting in the boardroom when we had one of the masterminds, and this is, again, when you were starting. So you might have been 3 to 4 years, but you were making a lot of noise out of Barry. And so Cooper was going, who is this guy? Like, who's this guy? Because Dan, of course, number one, has been in the top whatever at Boiler Page for such a long time. That's why we reached out. But life was so busy in the location. But that's when we first heard. We don't realize how we touch people, right? Because it is a very small 1% business, right? But congratulations on all your success. I'm glad we've done this.
Well, you too, Kevin. And how can the listeners maybe connect with you if they want to get coached and take to the next level? Or maybe they're in your area, Mississauga area, and they want to reach out and join your team, or maybe they want to send you a referral. What's the best way they can reach out to you?
So I think the easiest way is info@laroseteam.com. I got some coaching emails, but info@laroseteam.com. I just finished writing a playbook for real estate agents that are out there doing things day to day that talks about listing presentation, skill set, building trust, and a number of other things. So info@laroseteam. If you want our playbook, I'll be glad to send that to you.
That's amazing. Kevin, thanks so much for the conversation. This was really valuable.
Enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for listening to the show, guys. If you enjoyed it, please share and subscribe to the channel where we are building a community of full out real estate agents. I love you guys and keep on going full out.